everyone. My name is Jennifer Takala, and I am one of the women's pastors at Christ Church. And today we have Jackie Gorena here with us to talk with us for a bit. Jackie is the Chief Learning Officer of the Irving Independent School District. She is a longtime member and friend of Christ Church. She has also been a teacher and a principal, and she's a mother, and so she has she's got it down. So we're just really excited to be with her today. And so she's just gonna talk to us a little bit about how we can best help our children and ourselves during this time. So I'm gonna ask her a few questions, and she's just gonna chat with us. So Jackie, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Jennifer. I don't know if I have it down, but let me tell you, I love what I do. I love that I have the opportunity to work for Irving ISD, and that I've been able to be a teacher and be a principal, and now I'm blessed with the position that I have. But I'll tell you, there's nothing that I've loved more than being a mom. Mm-hmm. I was always a working mom, and so I hope that I have some benefits or some little tidbits of wisdom or advice to give that's going to be helpful for people today.
Well, we're just so excited to have you here with us. So I'm going to start off by asking you a question. We know that right now it's kind of a scary time for kids and really even for a lot of adults, maybe even scarier for adults, because we have a bigger grasp on what's actually happening. But what can parents do to help their children and themselves handle the stress and the emotions that are happening during this time?
Yeah, you're so right. I was talking to my daughter-in-law, Tori, about this not too long ago, and I just said, this is hard, living in a crisis. And she said, Jackie, we are in crisis and we're learning how to live. It is really a different shift in our mindset when you think about it that way, because we are in crisis right now. And so I have to remind myself that we just need to give ourselves grace. We need to give one another grace, and we definitely need to give our children some grace, because it is the stressful time for everybody. I try to remind myself that my actions and my words are really important during this time, and we just have to be really careful of them, because what we say and do it's just so hypersensitive, and how people can take that right now, but especially for the well-being for our children. We are stressed out about this, but we also know that God's in control, and we need to cast our anxiety on him, because he cares for us. And when the children see us relying on God and knowing that God has us, that's going to speak volumes to them, and it's going to really give them the sense of security that we should be giving them. And then in this grace time, allow yourself to spend more time with your children. Yes, academics is important, and this distance learning is definitely important, but take the time to spend with your kids and just be there to listen, not necessarily to speak, but just to listen, and to help. That will help them have a sense of secureness. Boys, are a little different than girls. Girls will talk a little bit more easily. Research shows that if you want boys to open up to you, that give them something to do with their hands. Maybe play a board game with them, go outside and throw a ball, or even take a walk. But research shows that boys will open up a little bit more if they're actively doing something, and then they'll talk a little more.
That's good.
I also would limit the exposure to news that you have and also your children has. It can be addictive, and it can just really be a time consumer. So be careful about the amount of time you watch it, because your children are listening, and we don't want to add that extra stress to them. But if they do ask questions, answer them honestly as you can, as age appropriate. But then when you do answer honestly of what we have control over and what we don't have control over, remind them ultimately that God is in control. John 16:33 tells us, I've told you these things that you may have peace. In this world, you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world. Me personally, it's been stressful as well. And so I have taken some dry erase markers, and in my big mirror in my bathroom, I'm daily writing scriptures on there. And I think children would think that's kind of fun too, because they're not supposed to write on mirrors, right? But let them pick out some scriptures and write them on the mirror, so they can have a daily reminder of who's in control and that God's with us.
I love that. I am going to do that with my kids. That's such a great tip. And I also love the tip that
Yeah.
you gave. I've got 3 girls, but I love the tip that you gave about boys, about getting them active. And I know that you raise boys. And so it's interesting, and it's a good tip to know how we can connect differently with our kids. Okay, so how can we as parents offer guidance on how to effectively prevent emotional problems and improve our children's long-term abilities to successfully manage and cope with life's challenges during this time?
That's such a good question. We talk so much in this world about being physically healthy. We watch our weight, we're watching about how long we can endure different exercises, how long we can run. There's a whole continuum of health that we talk about and we work towards, right? Same things with academics. We are wanting to raise our children to be smart and to be skilled, right? And you get grades for that, from an F to an A, or you get, from 0 to 100. There's this continuum of learning, right? But we don't really talk about the emotional health of ourselves and of our children. And often we either say this person's crazy or they're not. Well, it's not like that, really. We have a continuum of emotional health, and we really need to teach our children and spend time on our emotional well-being. And one of the first things that we can do is just spend some time being self-aware. And going back to what we talked about, allowing children to talk about their fears and their worries, and know that it's natural and that times are going to be uncertain. But there's ways that we can, once they have this self-awareness, that we can teach them some self-confidence. As a teacher, Jennifer, you probably remember it's really important to praise kids. But when we praise our children, let's praise them specifically. Instead of just saying, great job, or you're so smart, tell them how they did the great job, what it was they did to get that job done. So for example, if they really worked hard and they researched the answer, say, I really love the way you stick to something until you find that answer, or the way you're a problem solver and you know where to go to find the answer. So be specific in your praise, because that really helps to build their self-confidence. But I'll tell you, I think one of the things that I loved the most about being a mom was being able to pray with my children. And at night, when right before they go to bed, when you're praying with them, you can just really speak truth to them. All the walls come down when you're praying to God, and you can remind your children and it reminds yourself of who they are and whose they are, and of who they're meant to be and why we live and what our purpose is. And when you're talking about that, that can also bring a self-confidence to a person. I believe it did to my children, and because it's really not a self-confidence, it's a God confidence, right? So we also want to be able to teach our kids about self-efficacy, of what they can have control over and what they can't. And if you're a parent of a teenager right now, man, their world is really, really different, especially if you're a senior, you didn't get your prom. Teenagers, their most important people in their life, I hate to say this, is their friends right now. And that's just how it is. And they don't get to see their friends. They don't have control of their schedules. So let's give them some autonomy wherever we can. If they let them create their schedule, let them decide what time they're going to get up within reason and go to bed. Teenagers like to be more productive at night. And they like to sleep later. So let them do that. Whatever you can let them have control over, let them do that. If they want to go outside and exercise by themselves, let them do that, but let them do that safely. But give them control where you can give them control. And, for our littles, just remind them of, if they're scared for their grandparents, or even thinking about their parents getting sick, just remind them what they do have control over. They can take care of themselves by washing their hands and by washing surfaces and those kinds of things. But, whenever people are in crisis or in grief, one of the most important things is to, somebody gave me this advice, is to remember pies, like the pie you eat, Pies. So we need to take care of ourselves physically, intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually. So physical health is going to be really important during this time. Exercise with your kids. Let them pick out a physical activity to do. We haven't talked a lot about distance learning, which is, as chief learning officers, so important. Help them intellectually. But again, going back to that emotional well-being and the spiritual well-being, spend time in God's word. All of these will be really important to managing stress. What I've done recently is I find myself sometimes wasting away my night by watching television, and then I'm thinking I was supposed to have all this time and not getting any of the things done that I wanted to get done. So I started writing lists. I wrote lists of what I needed to do and what I wanted to do. And one of the things I wanted to do for a long time is to crochet. I used to crochet when I was younger. So I'm going to be a grandma pretty soon. So I've a list of what I want to do, and I've started crocheting, and I've got several things on those. But at the end of the day, do that with your children, have them make their list and then cross those off the list, because it's really, you're teaching them to set goals, and then they're going to have a feeling of accomplishment after they're done. So those are just some of the things that I recommend.
That's so great. Man, I mean, I'm just sitting here listening to you as a mom who's trying to school my kids during this time and work. And I mean, I've already learned so much. I'm so thankful that you're here. Okay, well, that leads me to this next question. What advice do you have for parents who are trying to juggle working from home and helping their children with at-home learning? Because I'm telling you, that has been a challenge for us.
It is, and routine is so important to children. It's important to us. First of all, get up at as much as the regular time as you possibly can, maybe a little later because you don't have to travel, right?
Yeah.
But create a schedule, and enlist your children helping create that schedule. That's going to be really important, to give a routine to your day, and carve out times in which the kids are going to have quiet time or reading time or lunch time or, play outside time. And then during those times, try to think about when you can get your work done, and then have some norms. That sounds kind of silly, but sit down with your kids and say, look, when you're during this time, we're having an agreement that you can't interrupt unless it's an emergency. Are used to that because that's what their teachers tell them at school too. If I'm working with a small group, it better be an emergency. You must need to go to the nurse if you want to interrupt me. So, set some boundaries like that with your kids too, so you can have some organization to your day. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be easy. That's when that grace comes in and that flexibility, but you can at least try to create a schedule and start with that. But don't be afraid to communicate with your children's teachers too. I've heard that there are some parents that are just really stressed out by the amount of work that teachers are sending. And so, this is a first for teachers too. We've never done distance learning quite this way before. So they're learning. So if it's too much, they probably want to hear from you. And so call them or email them, communicate with them what the struggles are. And you know what? They probably have children at home that they're trying to do school with as well. They're trying to juggle everything that you're probably trying to juggle. So let's just all communicate with one another, because bottom line is we want what's best for our kids and what's best for our family. So just don't be afraid to communicate.
Yeah, that's really good. So what about, what advice do you have us for if you're actually, like, I know that, sometimes I've had a child walk into the room when I've been on a call or something like that. Like, what advice do you have regarding that?
I would, before you start on a Zoom, if it's your turn to, instead of Lucas watching the kids and you're in charge of the kids that day, let your team know ahead of time. I'm watching my children right now. They may sneak in and interrupt. And if they do, please excuse them. I'll deal with them as soon as I can, and I'll get back. That you're letting them know that you have that. But I think you shared with me too that you were having a struggle, and you had, as far as arranging your time, watching your children and working, and you had to kind of work with your team, everybody working together, of what time's going to work best for you, and maybe setting those office hours. Did you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, well, we did. We at church, we've set office hours where we've said everyone's available during this time. And so, if you need to get a hold of someone, please try to do it during those hours. And that just kind of makes it an even playing field for everyone. And some of us have kids and some of us don't, but that's been really helpful, I think, for all of us. And, I just feel like, I can't speak for all supervisors or bosses, but I know that Lucas's, the people that he reports to, they've been really understanding that, sometimes you might hear a loud noise from the other room, or a child walks in. We're potty training Callie right now. So sometimes Callie will walk in and say, "Daddy, I need to flush, I need to, take the TT to the potty." So anyway, 'cause we have one of those little, the little kid potties. But anyway, so for, I think fortunately people are being understanding, it seems like. And so, we're all just doing the best we can.
I think what I love about this time, one of the benefits is that it just reminds us they're all human. When we're Zooming, I get to see people in their elements in their home, and, when their children pop in and say hi on a video, in a way, it connects us in a way that we haven't been able to before. So that's kind of one of the benefits I see.
Yeah. That's a really good point. It really is. And it is fun to see that, even though you may be feeling bad about it, the other people really don't seem to mind. So
no. Yeah.
Okay, well, one more question for you.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Do you have what are some resources that you can point us to that can help parents, I don't know, whatever resources you can think of that would be helpful for us?
Yeah, so I have, if I can share my screen with, I think I have control to do that, right?
Okay.
I don't know. Let's see. I didn't practice this. Let's see.
Yeah, looks like you got it. There we go.
Now? Okay, very good. So I pulled up just a few. Oh my goodness, where did it go? Now you see my messy desktop. So on the Texas Education, on the Texas Education website, there is this really cool site called Texas Home Learning. It's specifically for parents. So if you're a parent, you can click right here, and it will take you to some things that you can do with your children, some online materials or some printed materials. Just want to make you, explore that as you want. I'm sure your district has their own distance learning plans, but I just wanted to make you available that resource out there. And then I believe Google has this site up. I just found this one. Dr. Smith that I work with shared it with me. And check this out. There's all kinds of information there from Google. Just scrolling through so you can see the kinds of things that are available. PBS, children's educational television, on those times when you want your children maybe to have a little bit of downtime or quiet time so that you can get some work done. Remember, they post their schedule. There's a kids only schedule here, so you can choose maybe some really good television for them. And then Scholastic, they have some resources in Spanish and English that are really cool. So you can, there's some specific, let me see, hold on just a second. See if I can get that to go away. I think it's right here. Oh, no, I clicked out. Well, I'll give you the sites, Jennifer, so that you can see it. Let's see, maybe there. There's some different books, videos that are either in Spanish or English. You can switch to Spanish right here. So, and there's like a 30-day free trial for Watch and Learn Library. So I'll send you all those links, and if you want to post them somewhere on that Facebook site.
We'll post them in the comments.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. Well, Jackie, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You know what? I just thought of one more question that I have, and it is probably a question that a lot of parents are, well, some parents are probably asking the question, and some parents may just not care. But how much screen time, like, is it okay for us to be more lax with screen time right now? Like, I know some parents are like, I'm giving them screen time because I am, but I know there's a lot of parents also that are worried if their kids are, about how much is too much. So can you speak to that real quick?
Right. I think during this time, as long as we explain to our children that things are not normal, so we may spend a little bit more time in front of the television, but let them know that, when we get back to a little bit more normalcy, the screen time may go down a little bit. Bottom line is, I think back to Mike and Joshua, and I think they're pretty awesome kids. I might be a little, well, they're adults now, but I let them watch probably too much television. And, they turned out okay. So again, let's just give
Yeah.
ourselves a little grace.
And it's really helpful now that we do, like you mentioned, the PBS Kids. We have a lot of great educational programming, but there are so many. And I may try to post some resources that we found as well from our school district.
Oh, good. Yeah.
There have been a lot of different educational websites are offering, like you said, free trials and things like that right now, which has been really helpful for us, because when I do have to put my girls on a tablet or a computer, they're not just watching their kids' Netflix account. They're learning while they're having fun.
You do have to be careful of what, especially the teenagers, if they are staying up late at night and they have access to the internet. You have to be careful of what they're on, and so make sure you do have those parent rights so that you can either block or get into some of your children's accounts so that you can see where they're spending their time on the internet.
Yeah, well, that's always a good reminder. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Well, Jackie, this has been really rich, really informational, and really helpful to me. Just some things that, reassurance for me and encouragement. And I know it's going to be so great for all the other parents that watch this as well. So I'm really
sweet. Thank you for asking me. It was such an honor.
Absolutely.
And I always spend time with you and your mom.
Yeah. Well,
and your dad too. Let's not forget about the men, David and Lucas.
Right.
They're great too.
Well, we are so thankful for you and all you do for the students and the teachers of our school district. And just you are a real blessing. And we're just thankful that you're in that position and that you came today to share with us. So,
my pleasure.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Thanks. You too. We'll
Stay
see you
safe.
soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.